Hi! Welcome back to the Hip and Cool podcast. This is going to be episode 5, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm on episode 5. I just really want to make sure. Talk about consistency. So this week's topic is going to be Summer 2023 recap. This was a crazy summer. I feel like it went by fast, but it didn't at the same time. I have no clue. I feel like I was able to enjoy it, but at the same time, I don't know. There's always just this feeling whenever seasons pass where it's like, whoa, where did the time go? I feel like I'm always just kind of reminiscing on past seasons, even during the season. And I want to try to be a bit more present and stop kind of just sitting in a season being like, oh my God, last season was crazy. Remember that? Remember when we were doing that? But I don't know, there's just something in my nature that I'm just always reminiscing, which is a good thing. I guess it's a positive thing to reminisce, but at the same time it's you gotta enjoy the good times too, but leave reminiscing to a short window period and then keep living your life, and then reminisce for a little bit again, and then don't make it I'm reminiscing at all times. I'm reminiscing yesterday. It doesn't need to be like that. Anyway, so this week I'm going to be talking about all the things I did, the things I ate, the places I went, and just recapping how the summer was for me, based on tangible things. And then I'll talk about my mental at the end very quickly, not very much, because I feel like I talk about my mental a lot on here, and it's kind of, for some reason, I guess I'm just super blunt when it comes to my mind, and I don't know why I feel like I've come across as this jaded person, when in reality, I don't know, I think I'm pretty optimistic actually. I definitely have moments of sad, existential dread and da-da-da-da, just like anyone, right? But I do feel on a day-to-day, I'm pretty optimistic. I just feel when it comes to my mental, I try to be as candid as possible with myself and, on the podcast as well, because it's just kind of how I view my brain. So I'm going to keep the end a little bit quick about mental health and stuff. Let me just give you a kind of breakdown of what this week's topics are going to be. So first thing I'm going to talk about is movies. I'm going to talk about TV shows, books, music, food, and / places that I went in New York City, which is where I've been this whole summer. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about fashion. Then to wrap it up, I'm going to talk about the general themes and just the lessons I kind of learned throughout the summer. Just a personal kind of benchmark just to look back on and be like, I learned this, I learned this, I learned that. I don't know. Every time I decide I'm going to sit down and record an episode, somebody decides to bring out heavy machinery outside to do the craziest shit. I'm sorry. Anyway, so let's get on to this week's first topic, which is movies. So later on in the summer, I had went away to Barbados, and on the plane ride, I think back to New York I'm pretty sure it was back to New York, I watched Casablanca. That is one of my favorite movies ever. I actually watched that last semester for the first time for one of my film classes. First of all, that movie was so good. That movie is so good. And then I watched it again on the plane, and I was just like, it lives up to when I watched it in class. It's so good. So basically, the movie is going on during the time of the Holocaust, and there's a place called Casablanca that has not been overtaken by the Nazis yet. And a lot of people tend to find Casablanca as refuge on their middle passage between going, from an occupied area to, somewhere that's not occupied. There's a cafe within Casablanca called Ricky's, or is it Ralph's? I'm pretty sure it's Ralph's, because I was like, that guy has my dad's name. It's Rick's Cafe. So yeah, the cafe's name is Rick's Cafe. And yeah, in Rick's Cafe, a lot of illegal stuff goes down. It's just this really cool cafe with really good music and just lots of crazy gambling schemes and all these different things going on in there, but Rick doesn't care. He's like, you know what, this is my cafe, I'll do whatever you want, just don't involve me in it. And yeah, we get a little bit of romance in there, we get a little bit of illegal situations going on. the government involved. Like, it's some crazy stuff going on in that movie. And I am a very big fan of it. I don't know. Like, there's that kind of, like, way that they talk in old movies, and just, like, the black and white and just kind of everything that's not what movies of today are. I feel like movies of today are very flashy. I mean, granted, it depends on where you look, right? If you're going to the movies, most of the time you're going to be seeing some kind of blockbuster of some extent, some super well-backed movie, etc. But if you're watching more independent films, you're probably going to like more film festivals and such and things of that nature. So granted, I don't really go to film festivals. I would like to, but I just haven't gone to any. Just so happened I just don't go. I haven't also been watching very many independent films as of late. I feel like used to watch a lot more in high school. But for me, most of the movies I see now are blockbusters and just like very well-backed films. And I don't know, watching Casablanca, I'm sure it was a well-backed film as well. But just seeing a black and white film done in such a simple way, I think, with no like VFX, really, to the extent that they are today, and just, I don't know, it just kind of brings it back, down for you, and it's just like, whoa, like, this is really like early cinema. And I don't know, that film always, I feel like for me, will be something I go back to just be like, wow, like, cinema doesn't just have to look this one way. Like, it can look so many different ways, and that's what like is motivating me to like want to watch more independent films and more black and white films from other countries and X, Y, and Z. Yeah, it's a really good movie. Another movie I watched this summer by myself was No Hard Feelings. That's the movie with Jennifer Lawrence, and she plays this girl who is losing her house that her mother owned. Her mother passed away, and she wants to make sure that she gets the house back. And she used to do Uber, was it? I think she did Uber or DoorDash, and in order to keep the house, that's what she used to do. That was her job. Then her car gets towed, so she has no way of, working for money. And then she finds out that there's this like ad for these parents put out this ad for somebody to go out with their son for a brand new car. And he's about to go away to college, so they want him to experience something before he goes away, and like he is just like this sheltered little boy or whatever. And so Jennifer Lawrence's character is like, well, I need a new car. I need to, bank in on this, because she's literally just riding around on her rollerblades, sorry. And first of all, that movie was hilarious. That movie was actually so funny. I feel like a lot of people, when they were talking about No Hard Feelings, were discussing about how that movie really brought back the early 2000s to like late 2010s like humor. I feel like a lot of those movies disappeared somehow. The just like slapstick humor plus the really thought out jokes that aren't like corny, you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of, especially with like the rise in social media and stuff, a lot of times now movies will try to include social media into the film, and it just is whack. It's just not funny, and it's weird. There was this movie with Rebel Wilson. I don't know if it's a Netflix original, but it was so ass. I didn't like it. I feel like it's one of those movies that pandered to millennials, because it was very much like, oh, teens nowadays don't really even know like what's really like what we used to go through, and like the things that were funny back then aren't funny anymore, and you can't say this, you can't say that. And it was just like getting really weird, because it was like, what are you trying to say? That you want to say slurs? Like, it makes me feel weird when I watch those types of films, because it's just like, what are millennials trying to say? It's probably funny to the audience they're pandering to, but I don't know. It's just been a minute since I was in the theater cracking up laughing at like something that was more, geared towards adult humor. Because, I'm adult, I'm 22, and I'm like, want to laugh. Instead of going back to old movies or TV shows to find a laugh, it's like, why can't you find a comedy movie that isn't corny? I'll tell you right now, No Hard Feelings was great. And they had Phantogram up in there, which is my favorite music group of all time. So I was like, not me hearing my favorite music group of all time in this movie right now. Like, I was having a good time. I had a great time in the theater. Definitely check it out if you have not watched it. Or if you're like looking for a good comedy, like new age comedy that's not in the early 2010s, late 2000s, check it out. You might like it. I watched Joyride this summer, which also is in that genre as well, like the kind of like adult humor kind of films. Yeah, Joyride to me was a little bit on the cornier side, where No Hard Feelings was actually tapping into more elements of the reasons why those early 2010s to late 2000s comedies were funny. I don't know, I feel like Joyride, maybe it was just not for me. It just wasn't for me. I feel like it wasn't, as funny as I thought it was going to be. And I guess based on the trailers, I thought it was going to be a little bit different, but yeah, it just wasn't for me. I didn't find it very funny, but there were points where it was pretty good, and I thought that they went a cool way with it, and the plot twist was actually caught me off guard a lot. I thought the plot twist was pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, Joyride was alright. Then I also watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem in theater by myself. Look, I haven't gotten to the theater very much. I need to watch Bottom soon. I need to watch that because Ayo Edebiri, first of all, Ayo Edebiri she's in a lot of stuff, but she was also in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and she's also in The Bear. And I watched The Bear this summer, but I didn't finish it, so I didn't include it in this list. But personally, I really, really liked Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It brought back the reason why I like the Turtles. Like, the main thing for me has always been like the relationship between the brothers, and in the last couple of ones directed by Michael Bay, the relationship was there. I thought the relationship was there, but the movie itself was just bad. Even if you do get the relationship between the brothers good, if you get it and you secure that, the story still needs to be there. Like, we can't just be watching some movie where like his brothers are just goofing around. And honestly, I like that, but I feel like there should be some type of purpose. And I just felt like the purpose in the Michael Bay ones wasn't really there. It was, maybe the story was good, it just wasn't executed very well. And Michael Bay, he's gonna do all the explosions and everything. And look, I think the turtles themselves would love Michael Bay because they're teenagers and they love like the flashy stuff and da 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 da. But I don't know, just for me, I was looking for something with a little bit more depth. It didn't have to be darker. It definitely could have stayed lighthearted. I just feel like, I don't know, I wasn't really there for the Michael Bay ones. I didn't like them. But this one was awesome. Also, probably because it was a cartoon. I feel like when you do something with a cartoon, there's a lot more room for fun. I feel like a lot more people are taking things and making them live action. That's also what Michael Bay was. Michael Bay was live action, and I think that's what like kind of took the enjoyment out of it for me, because I was just like, this was originally a cartoon. Why aren't we just sticking with what we know is good? Keep it in the cartoon, realm. I just had a very fun time in the theater. Also, they played one of my favorite songs of all time, What's Up by Four Non Blondes. Like, that is literally one of my favorite songs of all time. And they went ahead and played that in the movie. And so 2 times this summer, they played like 2 of my favorite songs of all time in the theater. I can't control it. They're literally making these movies for me to watch. That's all I can say. They just want my coin. So yeah, I loved that movie down. And then Ayo Edebiri being in there, just like, she really brought so much life to April, and I loved how they made April black. Like, I also really liked that Splinter was able to get some licks in, because Splinter's usually sitting at home in the den waiting for them to come back home. But in this one, he was actually fighting, which was super cool to me, because yeah, he can fight too. He literally taught them how to fight. So it was awesome to see him tap into that. That's what I enjoyed the most, I think, about it. The fact that they had a really well-developed story while also paying homage to the reasons why people love the turtles in the first place. Like, they're just fun turtles. Keep them that way. Stop making them be brooding and weird and, like, I don't know. Stop making it live action, too. Like, would it kill you guys to watch a cartoon every once in a while? Like, Lord, stop making everything live action. I honestly think cartoons are awesome, and it's like a medium that should stay the same. It should be evolving, like everything should evolve, but Not everything needs to be live action. Sorry. Moving on to TV shows. So when the summer started, I was still finishing up Ozark. I think I'm on season 1 still, or season 2. The show's good. Like, it's really good. But I think it's just that I've been watching a lot of very grim television shows recently. For example, Monster. I had finished Monster in January. I started it and finished it in January. Monster is an anime. It's like a crime, like doctor kind of TV show. Very grim, very sad, and I 100% recommend it. Like, to anyone who likes medical drama mixed with crime. Like, 72 episodes of just pure unadulterated good television. And I started watching Ozark in like what? I don't even know when I started watching Ozark, but I started watching Ozark like mid-end of my final semester. And I don't know, I guess in my mind, like I just hadn't started really watching anything else after Monster, really. Besides like Love Island, and what else was I watching? I was watching the survival show called Boys Planet with my roommate. So yeah, I was watching more like, you know, kind of casual TV after Monster, because Monster was 72 episodes of just like, whoa. So I started watching Ozark, and I was just like, I need to get, like, I stopped it in the middle of, like, one of the episodes, and I was like, bro, I've been watching too much dark stuff. Like, I need something lighthearted to balance it out. And then, as I was watching Ozark, I was like, wait a second. Why is Jason Bateman always in some business casual clothing stressed the hell out? Like, in all of his roles, he's usually in some kind of business casual, like, button-down shirt with some jeans, or button-down shirt with a belt and some slacks, like some casual like khakis, or what are the other kinds of pants? Chinos, they call them. Stress. This man can never catch a break in his roles. And so I started thinking about Arrested Development, and I was like, bro, I need to go watch Arrested Development because that's going to cheer me up. Then I started watching Arrested Development and forgot about Ozark. I completely forgot about Ozark after that, which was crazy because like I think I just reminded myself, I was like, Jason Bateman's always stressed out. I need to watch something where he's stressed out, but it's funny. And I started watching Arrested Development. And I watched that show, I think it was the summer between middle school and high school, I think. Or it was like end of middle school, beginning of high school. Or it was beginning of high school and like it was like my sophomore year or something like that. It was very early into my high school career or very late into my middle school career. That is just real good television too. It's genuinely one of the most hilarious pieces of television I've ever watched, and it was very good to kind of watch that alongside with Ozark in the very beginning, because I was like, you know what, it's fun to reminisce on like the old times, but it's also good to get away from the darkness. But at the same time, then I just started wanting to watch Arrested Development, so I stopped watching Arrested Development. So I just, you know, that whole area is a mess right now, but Ozark has its funny moments. It does, like, have, like, little quips here and there, but it was a little dark for the time period I was watching it, so when I watch it next, I definitely want to have something, like, on the side to watch with it that isn't as dark, because sometimes you can just get, like, super sucked into it. Kind of like Monster, for me, I was just very much, like, in that place, and I was like, no, I need to know what happens. I'm not watching anything else. I don't care. So, yeah, right now I'm getting Zach to watch it, and Zach is a little scared to finish it because he thinks the ending is going to be too, you know, crazy. I told him to get, you know, prepared. He's like, I need to watch something lighthearted before I get into that. I'm like, look, I feel you, because that show is gruesome. It really messes with your psyche. I don't know. I was in a place when I watched Monster, so you gotta make sure you're mentally prepared. I started watching King the Land when I was in Barbados. King the Land is a Korean drama about a girl who works at a hotel, and the owner of the hotel group, who owns the hotel, one of the duty-free like stores, and what else do they own? They own like an airline, sorry. The son of the owner of all three of those things meets the girl who works at the hotel, and you know, it's just about them. It's a slow burn, you know. I always stop watching shows like that when the couple gets together. I always start getting bored. I much prefer it to be the last episode, like in Ouran High School Host Club. That's the last episode, and even then it's a hug, and they don't even, like, they're not together technically. They get together in the manga later on in the manga, but in the anime, it's a real long time before they're actually like even seeing each other or both of them romantically. So I'm not saying that all shows need to follow that formula. I'm just saying that personally, I just, if you're gonna make them get together, at least make it interesting. I feel like once once the couple finally gets together in a lot of these shows, they just start, the show just is so uninteresting, and I just start getting bored, for lack of a better word. And it's not even lack of a better word. I genuinely start getting bored. So honestly, maybe I'll return to it and see if it's any good, because from what I've heard, the ending wasn't that great. But yeah, so far I've just been like, okay, now they're dating. What now? You know, because it was just such an excitement to see, one of them pining for the other and like waiting to see if it'll happen. Will he? Won't he? Will she? Won't she? But then it finally just like was like, oh, now they're dating. Okay, like I just got bored. I don't know. The next show I started watching in Barbados too was Suits. Suits is really good. I like Suits, and I saw I saw someone tweet about it. It was like, oh, the way that they talk about drugs in Suits is hilarious. And someone replied and was like, you're high, get out. That's literally what they literally say. That's literally how they act in Suits. They're just like, are you on drugs right now? Are you serious right now? I don't know. The show is like, I think it started in 2008. No, it started in 2011. So, yeah, I was 10 years old. So, in my head, kind of early, 2010s, late 2000s, a little bit. And obviously, if it aired in 2011, it probably was filmed in like 2010 or 2009. And honestly, you can tell it just has that kind of flair to it. That's why I love watching old TV. Not like too old, but like early, like that era, like late 2000s to early 2010s, like when shows start in that time. Maybe they might, finish like even like nowadays, but I'm talking about shows that started during that era, because I just feel like they have a different type of flair to them. When I was in middle school coming to high school, I started watching a show called Scrubs. Scrubs is another medical drama, but it's not like a drama. It's a dramedy. It's like pretty funny more than it is dramatic, but it does have its dramatic moments. And that show is like 8 seasons long, pretty good. I watch it back now and I'm like, this show is garbage, low key. But it did have its really funny moments. I feel like it's not garbage. It's more just like some of the jokes they're making are just out of taste, and I just like feel it's okay to grow up and realize that something maybe didn't age very well, And I feel that with a lot of my old TV shows that I used to watch as a kid, actually, they aged pretty well. Like Hannah Montana, High School Musical, Wizards of Waverly Place, those aged great. Tell me why an adult humor comedy show did not age well. I don't know how that is. And it's not even that like Wizards of Waverly Place was just like PG and that's why. It's just jokes are still funny to this day. I don't know. I just feel like maybe it's like when people try their hardest to be edgy a little bit, it just, for the time it's good, but then later on it's just not funny. I don't know. I guess it just comes with growing up. I started watching Scrubs around like what, 14, 15. I'm 22 now. It's not funny that much anymore, to the point where I have to turn it off. And it's sad because I did identify with that show very, very much. Like I sat and I used to watch that show to the point where it was like my personality's trait. But Suits is in that little era of television, the golden age of TV, I should call it, where it just, I don't know, a lot of like comedy television was being taken seriously and it was actually funny. Not saying that it's not funny anymore. I just haven't really been into the like comedy TV zeitgeist anymore. Yeah, I just feel like maybe I should delve into it a bit more, but I'm not sure where to even start. Maybe I've heard a lot of people talk about Succession, and I started Succession, but I didn't finish it. Now that it's completely done, I might start back, and just to see what maybe the realm of comedy TV looks like now, just to see, if it's funny to me anymore or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like I'm so distanced from it. I started watching Heartstopper season 2. I feel like all I've been watching now is there's like season 2 of things, because like I said, I haven't been really in the TV zeitgeist recently. But yeah, Heartstopper season 2 was okay. I just stopped watching it. Like I said, I don't know. I guess my attention span is just low or something. I don't know. Also, Heartstopper is more for teens, and I don't know. I've started like distancing myself from like teen TV. I feel like I had this grasp onto it. I was like, no, I'm staying young forever. But now as I get older, I'm like, do I really identify with teen TV anymore? Maybe I will. I definitely still feel like I'm gonna watch High School Musical for the rest of my life. Like, are you kidding me? But if new ones come out, I don't know. Like, if it's like Bottoms, where it's like a funny, like, you know, adult humor kind of movie, then it's geared towards adults anyway. But yeah, if I'm, watching a show that's about like, teenagers in high school, I feel like you can definitely distance yourself from it. But at the same time, for me, I feel like I might be not so into it anymore. The newer stuff, at least. I feel like I'm hard on a lot of TV shows nowadays. I'm just like, this is not great, da da da, and I just turn it off. I'm just like, let me watch something that's like will feed my brain better. So now that I've been watching TV again, I feel like my attention span is getting better, so I might return to things that I stopped watching. Speaking of things I started watching again, we're talking about Jujutsu Kaisen season 2. Are we kidding? Jujutsu Kaisen season 2. First of all, I love Gojo. I'm in love with that man. That is a good man right there. I don't know. That's a good man. I feel like I forgot. I forgot just how much I love Gojo. And watching Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 really just solidified it in my brain. Like, no, that's my man. That's my man. And I'm in love with him. So that's the news I have for you today. Season 2 is actually really great. I love when TV shows do this, right? I think what's specifically unique to anime is like anime and like superhero movies, right? Where we get a season 1 of something, right? Something really good. And then we'll get a season 2 that shows how we got to season 1, like events, which right now what's coming to mind is Hunger Games. So we've got a Hunger Games 1, 2, and 3. And then now we have Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is showing us, how did Dr. Snow, he's not a doctor, how President Snow came to be who he is, and like why his mentalities have changed, and like why he got beef with Katniss, and just why he acted the way he did in all 3 of those films. And I feel like it always gives such an interesting bit of context to characters. When things go into the past or things that are set in the past, I don't know, there's just something about context that, I don't know, because it would be enough for a lot of people to just see Gojo as this like strongest character in the whole entire universe kind of thing that, can't be touched, whatever. And it's enough to learn about his history throughout the show and like, learn about he's from the Gojo clan and da 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 da. But I feel like it's another thing to like dedicate a set amount of episodes to learning that and seeing firsthand what he was experiencing, seeing firsthand why the relationships he has now are the way they are. It's one thing to say it, but show us exactly what went down in the past that informed how these characters act now. And personally, I love when shows do that, because Bungo Stray Dogs, which is the next show I'm going to be talking about, does the same exact thing. So we have I'm pretty sure season 3. We have season 1 and 2, which are just kind of episodic, like each episode's a new case and we're learning, different things about the city and different things about gifted characters. But then you got season 3 that really shows what was going on when Dazai was in the Port Mafia. And it's just like, whoa, I didn't know he was in the Port Mafia, da da da. It really, really just puts into perspective also the characters that we see as evil now, because it's usually what happens, right? We have this character that had a major shift, right? Whether it's the main character or a side character or the villain of the show. There will be a villain that the characters in season 1 are currently fighting, right? And then in season 2 or in the next season, we're shown how that character who is evil in season 1 used to be a good guy, and how that person used to be personable, right? And everyone used to like them, but then something shifted, and we get to see that in real time, which I love. It's not just like, oh, 7 years ago, this person was super nice, and all of a sudden, like, no, we're actually getting to see what it is that happened and sympathize with them almost, to make them a little bit morally ambiguous. There are times where it's like, no, you're crazy and I don't sympathize with you. But there are also times where it's like, wait a second, what they're saying kind of makes sense. And why they change their mindset kind of makes sense. And I always like that. It's always cool to see a good guy turn evil and an evil turn good guy. I always like that. And so I feel like Bungo Stray Dogs and Jujutsu Kaisen are the antithesis of one another. In season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen, we're seeing Geto, who is the villain, right? In season 2, actually used to go to high school with Gojo, and they were besties and everything, and then he turned evil, and that's why it informs his actions, in season 1. Then we have in Bungo Stray Dogs, Dazai, who is a good guy in seasons 1 and 2, and in season 3, we get to see how he was in the Port Mafia, and how he was like this bad guy, and, bounty killer, all these different things. And then why he became a good guy, and then how it informs how he acts in seasons 1, 2, and then the season after season 3. I love it. I literally feed off of it. I think it's just so cool when we get to see the backstories of people. I'm always gonna eat up a backstory. That's just me. That's just who I am. And so yeah, that's a little bit of what I've been watching recently in terms of like TV shows, movies, and etc. I'm very excited for the next couple of episodes of Bungo Stray Dogs. I'm really mad that I caught up, because I was just watching it, I was binging it, and I was like, wait, I haven't binged something in a while, and 2, why is this currently airing? I need this to be finished so I can finish all of it, but whatever. Then you got Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, which is also coming out, and I'm a little bit mad too, because why is it not done so I can just binge it? Like, I'm in my binging era again, and I feel great. I feel at home, and I'm happy. Now moving on to books. So I have 2 books that I've been reading. This is book number 1 that I still haven't finished, and I'm mad. Like, look at how much I have left. I have like barely any left, and there's not very many words on each page, so I need to get into this. But yeah, so Almond is a book about a boy named Yunjae who was born with a brain condition called, please don't violate me if I mispronounce this, alexithymia that makes it hard for him to feel emotions like fear or anger. He does not have any friends, but his devoted mother and grandmother provide him with a safe and contented life. But everything changes when a shocking act of random violence shatters his world, leaving him alone and on his own. Struggling to cope with his loss, Yunjae retreats into silent isolation until a troubled teenager named Gon arrives at his school. The two form a surprising bond, and when Gon suddenly finds his life at risk, Yunjae will have to step outside of every comfort zone he has created to perhaps become the hero of his own story. I haven't gotten to that end part yet with the hero of his own story part, but him and Gon have met each other and everything. I don't have very much left. Book is great. The book is awesome. I feel like it's just very interesting kind of case study. I really like the road that the book has taken, where it's like Yunjae is trying to figure out the most fundamental questions that quote unquote come as second nature to people. Having to ask someone, why do I feel like this in this moment when most people feel like this? Or why do people react this way to these types of stimuli? Or is it okay that I do this in this type of situation? Like, he's trying to understand things from the most basic point of view, asking people their perspective and trying to figure out, like, why he's so different. And I always, when I read the book, find it very intriguing, because obviously everyone else in the book doesn't have alexithymia, yeah, he's the only one in the book who has it. So just everyone's kind of just acting based on, like, second nature and what's, like, understood to be normalized to them, and he's just having trouble kind of trying to figure out what it means to be normal in his own way. Especially when I was in high school and middle school, I was like, oh, it'd be so much better if I didn't have emotions, because I wouldn't have to feel anything and I wouldn't have to cry a lot, and I would be emotionless and it'd be great. But, reading a book about someone who actually cannot feel emotions besides, like, pain and, like, hunger and just, like, basic, like, necessities kind of things makes you wonder. It's like feeling emotions is a part of life, man. And there are people who actually are born without them. And it seems as though it's a lot more difficult than it seems in your head when you're 12 and you're like, I don't want to cry and I don't want to feel this and da 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 da. You think you're going through like this existential kind of moment when in reality it's just like you just don't want the pain associated with the feelings. It's not that you don't want feelings. I feel like a lot of people want feelings. It's just the result that comes from having them sometimes. That can be really tough. Yeah, that's my random take on that. Second book I've been reading that I'm actually in a book club with my friend Zach. It's called The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Let me tell you something about Miss Erin Morgenstern. Miss Girl knows how to write a book. Look, okay, so this time I was thinking about recently how this time last year I had finished all of the Harry Potter books. I started last year, January, and finished around June. I was slacking. I read like 3 books in January, and then I stopped during the semester because I was in school. I brought them with me, but I never really read them. And then June happened, and I just read the rest. Or like I read 1 during the semester, and then I read the rest during June. It was something like that. June and July. And I was thinking about how, look, I do not like that turf lady, but she's really good at world building. Like, I'm telling you right now, J.K. Rowling did a really amazing job world building. Like, I was thinking about how easy it was to remember everyone's names, and even though there were so many different characters, each and every single one of them had a personality that you were able to like grasp onto. And she ate that one little thing. I will never give her credit for anything, but that one thing. Harry Potter, that series, the books were great. And reading this, I can't help but think back to the time when I was reading Harry Potter. I'm so sorry, Erin, you are your own person. But just, it was very reminiscent of how masterfully Harry Potter was done. Night Circus is a wonderful book so far. I'm having a great time reading this book. So, let me read to you what it's about. The circus arrives without warning. No announcements precede it. It is simply there when yesterday it was not. Within the black and white striped canvas tents, it is an utterly unique experience full of breathtaking amazements. It is called Le Cirque des Rêves, and it is open only at night. But behind the scenes, a fierce competition is underway. A duel between 2 young magicians, Celia and Marco, who have been trained since childhood expressly for this purpose by their mercurial instructors. Unbeknownst to them both, this is a game in which only one can be left standing. Amidst the high stakes, Celia and Marco soon tumble headfirst into love, setting off a domino effect of dangerous consequences and leaving the lives of everyone from the performers to the patrons hanging in the balance. I haven't gotten up to the love yet. I know the love's coming soon. But girl, that's how far I got. I'm almost halfway there. This book is great. I'm having a great time. And I don't know, every chapter I'm reading, I always like, as you can see, I got this from the library because, support the library, girl. I might buy the book though because this book is that good. I'm just like, I need one for myself. But girl, this book is crazy. And each chapter I read, I'm just like, what? I just really want to continue reading more like fantasy books. If you're able to write books this well, part of me is like, I would love to read some of your essays from college. Like, there's just some talented people out there who are just so amazing with that pen. And yeah, there's just certain kind of personality that the pages take. It just feels like it doesn't help that Jim Dale, the person who narrated all the Harry Potter books on Audible, also narrates this on Audible. So it doesn't really help that, the amazing man behind that is also reading this to me. So it kind of does bring that Harry Potter feel in it because of that reason. But at the same time, I feel like this book in and of itself there's just some sort of, even though the book is about magic, it feels magical too. Like when you're reading, like Miss Erin, the way that you've used your pen, I could probably make a whole podcast episode. I don't want to make this episode way too long where I'm just talking about one thing, but yeah, The Night Circus is just, it's a really great getaway from like normal life. If you want like a good book that's just super fantastical yet very grounded at the same time for some reason, also trusts the reader. I was talking about that in the very first episode about like the anime that raised me. Was it the first or second episode, Anime That Raised Me, where I was talking about Attack on Titan and how Attack on Titan trusts that the audience is going to understand and doesn't spoon feed the audience every single little thing. Like that's what Erin does too. Erin trusts her audience. She's like, they're gonna get it and they'll figure it out. And I love that. Like, I love that you know but you don't know at the same time with certain things. And I feel like if I say anything, it's a spoiler, so I'm not gonna say anything. But yeah, this book is phenomenal, and if you can get your hands on anything written by Erin, get your hands on it, because I'm gonna read the second to this book and maybe something else by her if I can, finish this though. So yeah, I just love books that trust the audience to get it and don't like wait for them to be like, so just letting you know, da da da. It's like, no, trust me, I'm 22, I'll understand. So yeah, get your hands on this book if you can. If you really like fantasy. I haven't gotten to the love yet, so I can't even tell you if it's good in the love department. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the romance is going to be good too. So this is going to be the end of part 1 of my summer 2023 recap. I just realized that I recorded 2 hours worth of footage, and I don't know, maybe splitting them up into 2 might make for a little bit of an easier digestion. So yeah, tune in next time if you're interested to see what the other things I did in summer were and what kind of foods I ate, what kind of fashion I was wearing, etc. So yeah, choose love always, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.